Hi,
company?
sir.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm Abhay Sharma from Tripla.in. So currently, actually, I work on a marketplace model, and which actually I'm into the financial models. So what I did, sir, I had a what you say, like you previous in the previous classes. Actually, I was taught about the SOM, TAM, and another like you total addressable market and
Tam,
what
Sam, and
yeah,
Song. Right.
yeah, exactly. So in that thing, so how to like in the course of 5 years, so we have like how we have to project ourselves, how to project like initially when I projected it went more those projections went over 1,000 crores. It went over 1,000 crores.
Yeah.
But when I look into the current scenario, the total addressable market that I can see is $1 billion. So in that
Mhm.
way, sir, so actually if I'll keep on projecting and if I'll keep on maintaining the customer retention rate and uh, the whole part, so I'm going to achieve the whole like sales in the whole figure, addressable market figure in 10 to 15 years. So like is it good practice to like keep it in 5 years or 10 years or
Okay. I
like
understand your
yeah,
question. I
yes,
understand your question. So you see, as I said, when I was answering Papan's question, you see, this is a dynamic world. And just like you have a financial projection, there are other alternatives which are already there in the market. They also have their financial projections.
yes,
So it is not just you who is trying to get the customer. In fact, when you do something in strategy, we call this as the game theoretic approach. When you take action,
mm-hmm.
don't expect your customer, your competitor, to just wait and watch you take away their market share. They will do something else. So there will be imitators, there will be counter products, there will be existing products with added features, there will be all sorts of retaliation by the competitors. So when you do this kind of a projection, uh, are you taking into these facts into mind? Because the entire TAM becoming yours is
Yeah,
a little utopian. It never happens. Only
yes,
one person. And if that happens really, then what you become is a monopoly, which again, from the government point of view, there will be restrictions. No government would like to have a monopoly. In fact, I don't know if you're aware of this, that Apple and Microsoft, the Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were not very good friends in terms of competition. But
yeah,
there was one time when Bill Gates, Apple was in a huge problem, and Bill Gates lent a lot of money to Apple, to Steve Jobs, and he got some shares for him. And he could have acquired Apple. There was a time when Bill Gates could have acquired Apple, but he chose not to. Why? Because in order to survive in a market, and if you don't want to become a monopoly, a good competitor, having a healthy competition is good marketing sense or good business sense. So Bill Gates actually allowed Apple to become a competitor. So talking about you, getting the entire TAM in 15, 20 years is not something very practical. Why would you go for entire TAM? Because the TAM size itself can change over years. So
yeah,
size of the pie, so number of, especially for digital world, initially 2 years back before the pandemic, what was the size of the digital market, digitally enabled people? The TAM size was X. And in the 2 years, last 2 years, it has become almost 3X. It has doubled, tripled. So more competitors will come in, more, even the pie will get bigger, newer niche will come. So that is why strategy is a dynamic thing. It's not a plan that you make one day and you stick to it. So it's a continuous process. Test the, as I was saying, assumptions, not just your assumptions. On what basis you are saying, okay, I'll get so many people will come. Also test the assumption about your competitors. Keep a watch on what new technology is coming. That's why they do something called the PESTEL analysis. P-E-S-T. Yeah.
Yes.
Rajat has
So
joined?
Raj sir has
Raj.
joined. So I think
great.
Let's get started.
Yes. So welcome, Raj sir. We all have been waiting for the second part of your session. And as discussed earlier, today I hope we were planning to listen to from you. How do you manage financial planning for services? Over to you, sir. And the stage is all yours. We have people, 57 of us waiting for you. Thank you so much, sir, for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry, there was some mess up with my calendar. My apologies for keeping you guys waiting. But I'm also amazed at what technology can do. I am at a different location using somebody else's computer, but I have access to my files. I think in times like this, you really realize that, why storing data on cloud is such a beautiful thing. Okay, so let us rewind back to our discussion a bit. Sorry, my this laptop that I'm using, somebody else's, I can't have access to the camera. Any case, doesn't matter. Quick show of hands. How many of you have more than 5 whatever technical people, developers in your organization? More than 5. I mean, I'm just using 5 as a metaphor. Just raise your hands so that I can see. Gitu has, Shri Kuttan has, Neetu, Abhay. Okay, more people other than you, other than founders. Okay, maybe 5, more than 5. Fair enough. Okay. How many of you? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm sure the others will eventually reach a stage where you will have, an army of developers or army of people working in your organization, and you will be kind of offering certain services to your client. Okay, so it could not really be a product. Probably it is some services. Maybe it is some data management services, some security management services, some cloud services, that whatever, it doesn't matter. Could be a law firm. I don't know. I mean, maybe you would have a law firm which are offering something called as a legal process outsourcing, and you have like bunch of 150 people, different lawyers at different things working on different projects. So you have multiple customers are giving you multiple projects at the same time. So whenever you're thinking it, I mean, if you want to just visualize what's the kind of business probably a Infosys or an HCL or somebody is into, you can imagine like multiple clients having multiple projects going on at the same time. You have an finite set of people who you're constantly deploying for different projects at different points of time, and you have no clue on how are you going to be billing it out to the customers. Okay, but that's a bigger, larger problem. So we don't want to go there. We want to look at a simple, smaller solution here, where we kind of understand. See, I mean, I'm just relying on the fact that last session discussions were clear when we understood the simple concept of what is the product selling price, what is the product cost of goods sold, which is like how much does it cost me to make something, what price I'm selling it, how many units I'm selling per month, and while doing that, what are my fixed costs and how does cash move in my organization. So there are some baseline assumptions that customers pay 100%, when they buy the product and all that. But those are minor assumptions, nothing major to think about. Of course, that will affect your cash flow. That will not really affect your P&L. But if it majorly affects your cash flow, then you may have some issues because you may need to borrow some money to take care of your fixed expenses every month. But these are standard pain points every entrepreneur goes through. Okay, so if you are experiencing that, or if you will end up experiencing that for some time, don't worry about it. Everyone goes through this pain. So it's see, if we were selling a simple a pen, let us assume a 10 rupees pen, which we know costs us 7 rupees to make and 10 rupees to sell, life would have been much simpler, right? I mean, we just need to focus on the selling the pen and collecting the money for the pens that we have sold. That would have been the primary concern. But when it is services, the problem is there are a lot of leakages. What do I mean by leakages is we don't know. I mean, like, we don't know who's working on what, how much is that actually worth billing about, and what is the customer paying me, when is the customer paying me. So this all thing can go into a kind of a tailspin. Okay, so while you may be looking busy and you may be having a lot of customers, and you may be doing a lot of project, a lot of people, at the end of the month, when you are signing the salary checks for all your team members, it will kind of leave a very hollow feeling inside you, as to you really don't know who are the people who have worked in this project, who are the people who have really delivered on this project. Okay, so the profitability of the project, or the profitability of what you are offering as a service, could always be a big question mark. Okay, and probably only at the end of the year would you realize that, oh God, throughout the year we spent so much time with the customers, we delivered so much projects, we had so many people, I paid all salaries on time, but the bottom line doesn't look great at all. Okay, so this could be a typical trap when running a services business. So the next half an hour, and I believe me, not more than 30-35 minutes, that I'm going to spend trying to give some method to the madness. How do you really manage this part? How many of you have heard of something called as a timesheet? I mean, I don't know, as employees you would have filled it up, or as entrepreneurs you get your people to fill it up. Sujit raises his hand. Who else? Timesheet. Babu, Papandas. Okay, some of you have heard. Akash Meda timesheet. Okay, fair enough. A lot of you probably haven't, but you will eventually hear about it. It's a very important concept. Why timesheet is important? Because everybody needs to know what are you working on, how much time have you logged on for what project, and what is it that you're doing, right? I mean, tomorrow, if not else, if you're working somewhere, then I'm sure the HR department is going to one day come and ask you, or your boss may one day come and get up and say, hey Raj, you've been working so hard and it looks like you're really slogging it out, but I can't really figure out what is it that you're working on, or what is it that you're contributing to the company. In which case, if I have a timesheet, or if the company provides me a facility of a timesheet, I could actually be logging in, saying that on Friday from morning 9:30 to 12:30, this is what I was doing. I was working with the design team, and from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I was doing bug fixing. From 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I was actually coding, and on Tuesday from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I was testing the code. Whatever. I mean, there are so many things that can happen in a software services company. Sorry if I sound very software services oriented, is probably because of my experience, and that was a long time back, of running a software services company. But what I'm going to talk about is a fairly generalized approach to understanding how entrepreneurs can look at the financial statements when they are even doing a software business. Okay, so let us get set for today's discussion. This is again another Excel sheet, slightly modified than the one that we used earlier. I have added some modifications of my own for you to understand. Here it is. What it is here, simple, is there are two students who start a web apps tech company, okay, whatever it is. They specialize in making AI powered e-commerce web apps for their clients online. Okay, so the basic cost of, there is the basic infrastructure cost of computers, deposit for 6 months rental. Okay, all these things are there in the startup cost. Okay, and we're going to have a detailed look at it. They have somehow come to a conclusion that they have 100,000, sorry, not 100,000, 10 lakhs in the Indian context. 10 lakhs or 1 million, if you want to call it. 10 lakhs is the cost that is going to be there. And they have again like kind of assumed that, as founders, they are going to put in half, and the other half is going to be kind of interest-free loan from things like that. Okay. And the product that they are selling. See, now this is the beauty of trying to understand, what it is. How do you productize a service? Okay. And this is a concept that you will have to wrap your head around, is what is it that I'm offering? For example, if I am offering, I'm just giving you another example, maybe a law firm, okay, law firm or a chartered accountancy firm, forget whatever it is. Let's assume that it's a law firm. Okay. And what are the things that law firm offers? Okay, law firm offers, let us assume one type of business, one type of customers that they have are people who want divorce, okay, or familial matters. One set of customers are wanting something to do with their property, so these are, it's a different line of work. One is looking at, divorce, one is looking at property, one is looking at mergers and acquisition, one is looking at contracts. Okay, one is looking at filing of IP and patent. So these are the various things that a law firm, does into. So what does a law firm do? What the law firm does, it tries to classify all that they are selling services and say that, can we productize this service? Can we make a product out of it? For example, simple, like you go to a doctor and doctor says that, okay, look, I don't know, but a lot of people would have experienced this into the COVID, COVID times, where hospitals were actually selling you packages, saying that we will give you a 7-day COVID treatment provided you don't need an ICU. So this is the cost. And suppose the patient goes on an ICU, then the package changes to something else. Okay, you go to an ophthalmologist today and tell him that you want, cataract operation done. So they will tell you that we have a package of 1 lakh of rupees in which the intraocular lens is Indian, and then we have another package which is going to cost to 2.5 lakhs of rupees, where the intraocular lens that they put after the cataract operation is imported one, right? So if you typically go and see today, everybody is looking at, productization of services. I don't know if it is going to be possible in your line of work, and I don't want to comment on individuals and what they are going to be do, but think about it as entrepreneurs. Think, can I offer the services that I'm offering to my customer and call it a product? Okay, like productize it and say, okay, this is what I sell it. Okay, you can buy it for an X amount, and if anything slightly more than that, it's going to cost. Typical, like you buy a car with the standard fittings, and then they say anything extra that you want, you need to pay up extra. For example, if you need chrome alloy wheels, okay, so then that's going to cost you extra. If you need a very high-end music system in the car, then that's going to cost you extra. If you need leather fittings inside your car, it's going to cost you extra. But there is a basic product that is available for an X price. Okay, so in this case, the company has decided that they have a basic product, and that product is called as web app for e-com companies. Okay, so I don't know what it is. We don't need to worry about what that technologically that product is, but somehow they have called it as product X, which is a web app for e-com company. And they say that they have a selling price of 90,000 bucks for the customer. Okay, it's a standard package. So typically, like all of us buy a certain subscription or buy a certain package, software package, we know that the basic core software is going to cost us 90,000. And then they have figured out that it is going to cost them 41,700 to make that particular product. Okay, so as far as this is concerned, it is the same as what we discussed in the last t-shirt example, where the selling price was $400 and the cost of doing it was $200, right? So almost similar to it. Now the beauty is, how do you track this? How do you really figure out what is the path? So they did again, like the students in the earlier case, they have done a back of the envelope calculation. I don't know if this is visible. I will try to make this slightly more visible. Okay, so they have figured out that for the 10 lakhs of rupees that that they have, okay, what they have is they have taken business registration, office infrastructure, okay, tech infrastructure, computer systems. So about 5 lakhs goes into that. They have figured out that fixed cost per month, that is server rentals, utilities, rent, digital marketing is going to cost them 1 lakh rupees. Yeah, 1 lakh rupees a month, which is going to be a fixed cost that includes employees. No, they have not added salaries over here. Salary per employee, they have taken it separately. And they have taken okay, they have taken a variable cost, which is very interesting for us to understand. They have said that every time they deliver a software project, okay, every time they deliver a software project, they have taken that this is what is going to cost them. There has to be a project manager who's going to cost them $10,800, okay, and he's going to spend 0.24 amount of his time to monitor the project, and that is going to cost them about 45. Whose rate is about, sorry, the project manager is going to cost them 45,000 rupees, okay, and he's going to be utilized for say 25% of the time. And at 25% of the time, that means about 10,800 is what is going to be contributing towards the development of a simple project. Then, of course, there is a designer who's going to cost them $35,000. There is a developmental guy who's going to cost them $45,000, database guy, and there's a tech support guy, $25,000. And this particular, all these guys contribute, okay, their contribution towards the project is 25%, 14%, 0.4%, 15%, and 8% towards it, making it 41,700, okay, of the value, total value of the cost of the people that is going to come there. Now, how this is not different from the t-shirt one is that here, what is the raw material? You have to ask yourself, what is the raw material that goes? Think about it as a factory. I mean, I don't want to call software services as slave factories, but let us assume for a moment that we run a factory. Okay, what is the raw material that goes into it? The raw material are the people, okay, people and the time that they spend in the company, right? So typically a project manager, when I say, is that 45,000 bucks is going to cost me, and I assume that is going to be working for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, which makes it about 40 hours per day. And let's assume that it's 4 weeks, so it is about 160 hours in the whole month. So my input, okay, just like in the t-shirt case, it was probably the fabric, or it was probably the design, or it was probably the packaging. Here my input is the cost per employee and the number of hours that they. So my input is, I have 5 people. I have a project manager, I have a design guy, I have I have a developmental guy, database guy, tech support guy. Totally, they cost me about 2 lakh rupees a month. Okay, so that is not fixed. Okay, that is variable at this particular moment. Why is it variable? For the simple reason is because everybody is going to contribute differently to the project, right? So the project manager is going to spend 25% of the time on this particular product. Maybe 75% of the time he will be looking out at certain product. Right now, we are doing the accounting for a single product in this company, which is called as the web app for e-com, whatever the name is, product X kind of. Okay, so I'm going to take a small breather over here. Okay, breather over here. Is this concept fairly clear? I'm not saying that perfectly clear. Is this concept fairly clear what I'm talking out over here? You can put it in the chat, or you can, I know you can't speak, but just raise your hands if you feel that, you know, this is okay. This is, I understand on a primary basis. I clearly understand what you're trying to tell me over here. As a services business, my people are, and the people's talent, I don't want to call it people, but the people's talent is the basic ingredient that I have for my, and my output is, output is based on the input that I have, right? So today, if I want somebody to do full stacks programming, I will go to hire that kind of a person. He's going to cost me an X number of money every month. He's going to be contributing X number of hours every month. And those are the hours that get into the, project. So that is an input into the project, and based on which I need to figure out how much of my project is, how much did this project really cost me to deliver? Because for me, profitability is going to be important. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to, the others are fairly okay. I mean, in terms of trying to understand the numbers, not major. They are looking at, see, because it's a services business, they can't have, one customer every day. So they're saying that we need 6 customers every month that we talk about. 6 customers will pay us 90,000 bucks. This is back of the envelope. Please understand. This is before they even started the business. They, kind of sat in a coffee shop and probably just scribbled their way. And they said, okay, how many customers we need? We need about 6 customers. They will pay about 90,000 bucks. Okay, one, and I'm going to make about 5,40,000 every month that is going to come. So 5,40,000 is here. Okay, 54,000 for, how much is it going to cost me? 41,700 into 6, which is 1,89,800 is what it is going to cost. Sorry, it is, profit is 1,89,800. Whatever, it is 5,40,000 minus X amount equal to 1,89,800 is what is going to be my profit for the whole year. Okay. So my break even is 2.07 for the simple reason my fixed costs are very low. My fixed costs are low because my variable costs are directly mapped to the, to the product that I'm developing. That is why salary doesn't become a fixed cost over here. Salary is a variable over here. Okay. So my fixed cost is about 100,000. It's not really much kind of a thing. Okay. And my contribution is fairly high, 53%, which is the normal case with any software services company, right? I mean, product companies work on 3%, 8% margin, but software services company would definitely work on much. Look at Infosys and look at the margins that they make every year. I mean, Infosys balance sheet is probably one of the first things that as entrepreneurs you should pick up and try and understand, is because how does Infosys, it's a probably one of the most detailed balance sheets ever made by any services company. Believe me, I'm not joking when I say that, because Infosys goes to, it's a huge balance sheet. It costs 250 pages. But believe me, I'm an Infosys shareholder, not because I want to make money out of the shares. I am an Infosys shareholder simply because I love to see their balance sheet everywhere. I think one of the companies that actually set the benchmark for disclosures in this country is Infosys, and they were in such a they were in a business which they could have easily glossed over everything. Look at the Satyam example if you want to look at it, how you can just mess up your entire balance sheet and fake it, whatever, with whatever information that you want, because software services was always a gray business to really account for. But Infosys were the guys who, of course, now every company follows it. Infosys were the guys who actually set the standard up for, a disclosure, right down to the last rupee what they have spent on every project is what gets accounted for. And that is what the kind of focus as entrepreneurs you should be putting on. Okay, don't we'll all get caught up in this cash flow thing, right? We'll just try to make enough money to pay the next month's payroll. Okay, and anything over and above that, we will think that is a profit. Believe me, I did that for 14 years, okay, without realizing that I was never really making a lot of money that I could have made. Probably the knowledge that I have now, if I had then, I would have been much, much more profitable. But then, okay, I mean, that is wisdom in hindsight. Okay. So this is what the back of the envelope calculation is. They have done again a simple.
So Raj, sorry to interrupt. There's a question. Can I
May be the jump
to you right now? The question is chat.
translate to overall. Where the wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Sujit, you jumped the gun. Actually, you jumped the cannon. Don't worry about it. We'll get to that. So, so this is absolutely. We'll come down to it. Why does it cost us 41,700 to come down to it? Okay, so we'll do this calculation. Okay, right at the end of the month, this back of the envelope calculation is nothing but just a scratching of how much time, how much effort does a design guy. So it is simple. You have to look at this kind of a concept and say what is the number of man hours that is available to me of different people that are there, and how much of an output am I going to get out of it. In this case, the output is very simple. They are looking at 6 products that needs to be developed over here. So they feel that with 5 people team, okay, project management, design, development, database, and each one, please understand 41.7 is for each of the product. No, we'll come down to it. How does it come down? There's a reverse calculation also that is at work. This is just an estimation right now over here as to how much is that 41,700 come out. Is it perfect? Don't know. Can it be off by 10%? Probably. But can it be off by 100%? I don't think so. If you are off by 100%, then you don't know what business you are getting into. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you know how much does it cost, see, finally at the end of the day, we are all tech guys, right? I mean, we know how much is it going to cost us, or how much time frame it is going to cost us to deliver a standard package. And this is not a bespoke project. Please understand, this company is not into bespoke projects. This company is into making a simple app. Let us call it a platform based or a shopping cart app. I don't know what in today's context what that product really means, but it is, let's assume that it is something that an end customer buys and pays you for it. Okay. So let us look at the startup cost. What is the startup cost? Again, this is based now on slightly more granular data that they have. They have said that a startup cost is about 5 lakhs of rupees that they're going to spend. Okay. Then they have a capital work in progress. In case they want some additional things and love, this is something that they have budgeted and kept 2,50,000 throughout the year. Then on the day of the launch, they want to do a product launch, and then there's expenses on day one of the company, rental deposits, stationaries, maybe coffee machine or whatever miscellaneous that you want to talk about. This is the startup operations, 2.5 lakhs. So roughly 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs comes from the team, 5 lakhs comes as a form of a loan. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now comes the slight variation part that I am talking about in terms of what you need to understand as a services business. Okay, and I have used simple things. I have said that let us assume that we have 4 weeks. Okay, 4 weeks standard every month. So let us do a weekly monitoring of what my people are doing. So how many people we have in the team? 5 people we have in the team. Okay, and what are the roles of the 5 people is simple. Okay, so this is what okay, so they have given it some brand name, Thunderstorm 2.0 or blah blah blah. So it's a web designing development analytics engine project. Who's the target customer? Small and micro businesses who want a website that caters. This is all based on which. Okay, what is the project size? It takes about 250 man hours to do it. Client's name is XYZ Micro Enterprises Limited. Okay, so now who are the 5 people? We have a project lead, we have a web designer, web developer, database specialist, and a bug fixing and a quality specialist. So these are typically, you can claim it out of a job description that you're going to talk about is what are the skills that are, why this is needed for every entrepreneur to know. Please understand, I'm using a very simplified format of the business, right? Only 5 people. Let us assume now there are 25 people and they are at different, different skill sets and different grades. How do you wanting it to be done, right? So this is what you need to do. It is a very, this is a page for, this is not an accounting page. Please try and understand. You don't need to share it with, your chartered accountant, or you don't need to give it to the government, or you don't need to, put it as a thing for your, filing of your taxes, nothing like that. This is for you as an entrepreneur. You are free to kind of, modify this format if you want. So what these entrepreneurs have done is they have very smartly said, these are the 5 people. These are their core skill sets. Okay. They need Java, XML, or whatever, Oracle database, proficiency in backtesting. These are their core skill sets. What are their deliverables? They have defined the deliverables. What do they do in the project? Delivering the project on time and under budget. This is what the project leads mean. What is the role of the database specialist? Is building a secure database and developing reports part of it, right? What's the bug fixing and quality specialist? So you not only look at people now, you look at, what are their core skills and what are their core deliverables out. Now comes the fun part. Now these are the gross emoluments of the, company. Let us say 50,000. Please understand they had budgeted differently, but when, when the rubber hits the road, okay, it's a very typical entrepreneurial thing that we always tend to overestimate revenues and underestimate costs, whereas the opposite should have been exactly true, right? We should always overestimate the cost and underestimate the revenues. But human mind likes to be in a comfort zone. We always believe that customer is going to pay more and it is going to cost us less. Okay, but now when the rubber hits the road, they realize that the project lead is not 45 but 50,000. Okay, web designer is going to cost them something more. Web developer is a rare commodity. Okay, database specialist not so much. And of course, the poor bug fixing and quality and testing guys don't get paid as much as the lead developers and specialists get done, right? Okay. Now comes this concept called as cost to the company. Okay, now try and understand how the things change. What is cost to the company? Is the cost to the, you have to ask this very fundamental question, that does every time I hire a programmer, okay, and I pay him 35,000 bucks, is that the cost to my company, or is there something more, that is going to cost me, to get that guy 35? Yes, of course, it's going to cost you more, right? Because the moment you hire a new, warm body, as we call it, because, fresh programmers are nothing but warm bodies to start off with. Sorry to say this. I mean, they need to be kind of trained, and then they need to be kind of, given all the resources, they need to be kind of done everything. So it is costing a company something more than the salaries. Okay, so never look at salaries as the input cost. Look at what is it going to cost you. So in this case, the cost of the company, see here it's written, the cost of the company, they have taken as 50% more. It's going to cost them at least 50% more, than the CTC to really as the cost of the company. Because the person is going to sit, you're going to buy a computer for him. He's going to have coffee from the same coffee machines. You are going to probably expand the office. So there will be an incremental rent. You're going to be kind of now spending more on employee benefits and stuff like that. You will need more air conditioning. You will need higher data bandwidth, because now you are adding more people to your team. So get this concept that there is always an overhead. Okay, the moment a person joins our organization, he may charge us as a salary, which is different, but there is something called as a cost to the company, right? So typically, HR guys have this habit of giving you salaries and then say that no, that is cost to the company. Your take home is much lesser. Because what the HR does, it very smartly calculates, saying that if they're going to hire a Raj Bhatt or a Rajat Agarwal, okay, then obviously then the cost to the company is going to be higher based on his productivity. We will have to give him some bonuses, and we will have to take some leaves and all that. So typically, in my humble opinion, cost to the company should at least be 50% more than the salaries that you're actually paying, total cost of the salaries, okay, including everything, gross salary add simple 50% to it. No thumb rule. There is no government rule. There is nothing in the tax books that says that it is. But if I were you, if I were to run a software businesses, if I were to run a services businesses, every time a person joins me for 50,000 bucks, I'm going to take his cost as 70, 75, depending upon, how I want to cost it. So in this case, also, they have not really taken 50% higher, but 50% higher is, a recommended kind of a number. So 50,000, they've said they're being slightly generous. They're saying that, okay, cost to the company is 70,000 bucks, 49, 30, 30, 35 over here. Okay, so quick show of hands. Is this concept clear? Cost to the company and why we need to account more in terms of every time we hire a new employee? Just quick raise of hands. Yes, Abhay says yes. Atul says yes. Everybody agrees? I think you should agree. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you want, you don't agree, but this is a very prudent way of accounting for jobs. You will never be unprofitable, if you do this. So the cost to the company is 70,000 bucks. So now I don't look at 50,000 bucks. I say, this project manager is a 70,000 worth of commodity to me, right? Commodity to me. Okay. So this is a commodity and I'm going to sell this as a product. So now what do I have in my, inventory to sell? I have 5 people. And what is the value of these 5 people? 70,000, 49,000, 70,000, 56,000, 35,000. Okay. So this is the commodity that I'm going to sell. So typically if I break it down into, per hour basis, in which case here also they have taken simple. They have said, 8 hours per day. Okay, 5 days a week, 4 days, 4 weeks a month. Okay, so if you look at the formula in the function over here, it is simple. It has taken this 70,000 and then divided it by this. Okay, sorry, no, it has taken G60. Okay, and then multiplied it by 50%. Why do I now need to multiply this cost by 50%? Trick question. This is a trick question for everyone. I have taken, cost to the company higher, but now I'm adding something more when I'm doing the billing hour. Why is it? Markup, right, Sujit? To arrive at a selling price. Perfect, Babu. Yes. Profit margins. This is what my margin is. If I get a guy at 70,000 bucks, I'm not going to sell him for 70,000 bucks, right? I'm not in the charity business. I'm going to sell him for at least 1,05,000. So that is what my final billing is. You look at it over here. Okay. So I'm selling a 70,000 bucks at 1,05,000. I'm selling 49,000 bucks at 73,500. So I'm marking it up by 50%. I'm saying that does not matter. Okay. My selling price is going to be this much. That makes my billing rate per hour. It's simple. That means I need to bill this particular guy at 656.25 per hour. Okay. That means every time this guy puts in 1 hour of work onto the project, okay, the end customer will end up paying me 656.25. Okay. Is this clear? Quick raise of hands. Okay. So I've inflated my salary by 50%. Then I again inflated that figure by 50% because I want to make 50% margin, right? Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know where will I manage. If I'm a smart entrepreneur, by the way, Infosys makes much higher. You just look at a very amazing figure that I ask every entrepreneur to look at what is Infosys. Just go to, Infosys balance sheet is available also on their website. So you don't need to do anything. You just need to go and download. Just look at 2 figures. Okay, 2 figures. What is the salary? Finally, at the end of the day, Infosys is in the same business that we are all aspiring to be, right? A services business. Okay. What is the total annual salary bill? Okay. Total money that they have spent on salaries for entire, I don't know what is their head count now, maybe 1,20,000, 1,40,000 people across the continents, all over the place. Look at the total salary bill and then compare it with, what they are, 18 billion. I don't know how much, what is the last thing that Infosys has clocked up, and see how much money. That means every time a person Infosys hires, see the value add that, a large company can be able to do. That means they're selling a person more than 100 times the cost of what they are hiring it for. And that's the kind of profitability that is insane. Same thing is with, I mean, if you're a product company, then it is, mind blowing. Go to Apple and check up what is the Apple annual, salary bill, and then look at what it is in terms of, the turnover that Apple clocks in with those many people. At the end of the day, it is the talent that, and Apple is converting it into an iPhone that you and I pay a crazy amount of money to buy, right? I mean, Apple has converted that service into a tangible product. Infosys doesn't do a tangible product, but it still sells the same thing out, for which the customers are, willing to pay maybe 100 times more than that. We are a small enterprise. We are startups. We are not really in that Infosys, Apple league. So we are being very, kind of realistic in our profit seeking. And we are saying that probably 50% is what. I don't propose 50%. I leave it entirely up to the entrepreneur to decide, whether they want to put 50% or whatever it is. Okay, you can make 70%, you can make it 100%. Just for the sake of discussions, we have put it 50%. So, and the number now here is where the declaration part, right? Now this is what the employee puts in and says that I have worked 60 hours in the first week. Okay, so my simple, so everything else in the contribution is automated over here. You just need to put the number once. These are the numbers that you clock in and say, okay, how much did the project manager spend? How many hours did he have? He had, 40 hours or whatever it is. And he has, of course, worked hard towards doing that. He has put about 60 hours onto that particular project. Maybe his contribution is 150% over here, but his weekly billing that has turned out to be is 39,375. In this case, because the project was, starting off in the first week, the project manager had to spend some extra time, looking at resources, designing how to do it, your part of it. Okay. Others have spent since it was the first week, the bug and quality guy did not really have to spend too much hours. And he spent of the 40 hours, probably only 20 hours onto this particular. So this is the one that you have for week 1, then you have for week 2. Again, in between week 1 and week 2, these numbers change. Okay. And week 4 over here. Okay, they have put more or less the same thing. I don't know why this happened. Okay, so and this is where is the final billing sheet. This is where all the 4 Excel sheets get dovetailed into one, and then they say, okay, this is what they have looked, because it's a standard. I think because it's a standard product business that they have, put in almost same number of hours every week. But the total monthly billing is about 5,84,600. Monthly target was to deliver 6 products. So 540, they have delivered about 108%, which is okay. I mean, like that means the team and the product that they are talking about is more or less delivering as per the expectations of the entrepreneur. Okay. Now from here, it is again standard. So I'm not going to spend time again over here in terms of defining it. What simple is, they had decided that they will sell 6 products every month. What is the selling price? 90,000 bucks. What is the cost price? 41,700. It cost them to make it. This is the cost of goods sold. These are again their fixed, expenses that they talk about. Being a software company, they don't, kind of have different expenses, advertising, delivery, or whatever it is. So the fixed expenses are more or less literally fixed at, 1 lakh rupees a month. Okay. And then this is how their profit margins are. Okay. More or less standard every month. Software businesses, one thing good about it is, you can only have variation in terms of the number of customers. For example, because it is March, they have only sold 5. In April, they have sold 7. Then they have sold 5, 6, 5. So not major thrills over here. In the whole year, even if they were looking at delivering 6 on an average per month, they still ended up delivering 72, which is fair enough. So 64 lakh 1,080,000 over here. I'm not going to spend time too much on this. Cash flows, again, very interesting. They started off with 500,000 in their bank, 5 lakhs in their bank. First month sales 5,40,000. Okay, cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and then you remember they had some things planned. They wanted to kind of, spend some money based on in their startup cost. What they said, yeah, startup cost. They had said that they wanted to spend about $250,000 on various things that they wanted to do, and they also spent some money buying computers. So if you look at it, the cash flow, yeah. So this is what the cash flow, new fixed assets purchased. This is what they have done. They have starting up operations here. Then they bought computers at different points, 50, 50, 150 over year. Okay, resulting in a cash position, 22,77,600. Interesting part is the salaries. Okay, salaries is interesting because project lead and the web developer were the co-founders, so they have given themselves $50,000 each, and web designers typically 2 lakhs. So again, nothing very exciting over here. 2 lakhs is what their salaries is all about. And finally, the balance sheet is, plain vanilla balance sheet. They have a cash in hand, 22,77,600. Beautiful. They have fixed assets. They have, 2,50,000 worth of assets that they had kind of done. Capital investment that they remember, they did 5 lakhs in setting up the company and 2.5 lakhs in terms of, in terms of launching the product, day one expenses and all that. So startup capital. So typically they're 10 lakhs they have. It's over here. The cash is out over here. Okay. So liabilities are here, whereas the equity share capital 5 lakhs and 22,700, 600, more or less the profits that they are making from the company is reflected as reserves and surplus. Okay. So this more or less brings an end to the discussion. So what did we think? What did we kind of discuss different from the time last time? Is that it is possible if we monitor the cost of see, this is what project planning is all about, right? Execution, right? How do you know, for example, how does a builder know how much is it going to cost him, to build a particular building or an apartment? Let us assume he knows the selling price. The selling prices are sometimes not in our control. Selling prices are governed by the marketplace, by competition, and stuff like that part of it, right? But the cost is something that we have control over, and cost is something that we can keep, and very easy to do it for a for a builder, because he knows the cost of cement, he knows the cost of steel, he knows the cost of gravel, he knows the cost, but he also has people doing it. He has architects, he has got laborers, he has got people who are doing different kind of work. All those costs, if they can be kind of monitored, and you can actually do it, and there are tools available, right? I mean, this is a simple Excel sheet that I've shown you. There are fairly complex tools that are available that help us in monitoring the cost. Project management, there's so many project management tools that are available that you can actually monitor the project for its timeliness and profitability. So please use those tools. Okay, develop your own simple Excel sheet. Please understand, every business, even a doctor for that matter, okay, can actually make a quick P&L statement. For example, if the doctor is sitting in the clinic for 8 hours a day, for whatever 6 days a week, okay, he can actually say that, okay, these are my, and he can actually cost that it costs me 1 hour of sitting in this particular clinic. What is the cost that it costs me for 1 hour? And in that cost, how many patients am I seeing it? Okay, and what is the turnover of the patients that I have? That means if I spend 10 minutes with a patient, can I do 6 patients in an hour? Yes. But the problem with the doctor's business is that you don't get, I mean, unless of course you are a very famous doctor which has a huge queue of customers around you, but you don't get that. But you can still do the profitability per patient visit. Okay, profitability per patient visit, and you can actually cost it and make a billing chart out of it. Okay, sorry, maybe just short it again by about 5 minutes. If you have any queries, I know this I started this session late, wish I could have spent some more time, but given the circumstances, it's a miracle that I have been able to kind of log in and complete the session out over here. So thank you so much for your time and patience. I do hope that this small discussion has cleared some concepts in your mind, and you will be able to take home some learnings from these last 2 sessions that we have in terms of monitoring the profitability of our business. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. We have shared the T-shirt example, the format that we generally have. If you could also share, Raj sir, your version that you showed today.
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye.